I'm here to talk about the second episode of the 11th season of Doctor Who, The Ghost Monument. I want to start this review by saying something that Greg Austin said. He said something that sort of like the second episode was unfocused and not as good as the first one. And a lot of people were coming for him, and I have to defend him. It's true, the second episode was not as good as the first one at all. When we got presented with the plot, I was kind of excited, but it was also kind of, this could have been better. You're telling me this incredible, absolutely amazing interplanetary space race exists, and we only get to see the last stage, which is the most boring one? Why would you do that to me? The goal of these two races, it's really stupid. They were really intelligent, they had to pass a lot of proofs, and the most dangerous one is this planet. Well, it wasn't that difficult then. Absolutely not. Let's start from the beginning. They get scooped into two pairs just because of dramatization. I mean, it's fine, they all get safe and alive there, so then out of the three new characters for this episode, you leave the most interesting one out? That is the jerk that is organizing the space race? Why though? Why take out the most interesting character of the three? You've got Armstrong, which is sort of a great developed character. I didn't need to know so much about Armstrong. I didn't care about her. And then you have Expo, which was a basic archetype. It wasn't a character at all. You just basically took an archetype and you smashed it in with a face. The other one was interesting. We got 2 minutes of him at most and was more interesting than the two adventures combined. Why take him out? I don't understand. Then this planet is supposed to be very dangerous. The water, be careful with the water. Nothing happens with the water? The Doctor is completely blown out because the planet seems to be really full of life and suddenly it's all gone. Doctor, I have something to say. Didn't you just say that the water had some sort of bacteria that was eating things alive? That would basically eat you out? Don't you think that might be the curse of not any sort of life in that planet left? Don't you think that might be the curse of not any other kind of life existing on this planet? I mean, I think there is a slight possibility. At this point, I think the most logical idea for the Doctor would have been they created this bacteria in a lab and it eventually killed them. Logical. But no, the Doctor isn't satisfied with that. So we get to this city, which I couldn't care about less. And there are robots. And the robots are not alive or active until Expo shoots one of them. Obviously, because this man is an archetype with legs. Obviously, his only goal in this story is to basically shoot a robot. I think the only purpose for Expo to exist is to shoot a robot. That's it. And to have a cigar. Well, no, because Armstrong could have a cigar. So they somehow, even though they're robots and they're tracking them and they're supposedly super intelligent, they get to avoid every single shot. There is no explanation to that, and I'm not giving one either because it doesn't make sense. They should have, if they were shooting at them, at least one of them should have been shot. Graham! Get shot, Graham! Then they get out of the city. This is very vague for me. I don't exactly remember all that happened. there was a lot of things happening, none of them important enough to remember. They get to these tunnels and they get to this laboratory and Espo almost dies, but an important part of the plot is that they discover that the stanza made the people there, made the pieces of cloth and probably also the bacteria in the water, and that killed them. And Armstrong says that that's happening on her planet too, which is great because the stanza seems to be the connection between all the episodes, and I'm here for it. I thought this was the most interesting part of the episode, without a doubt. It's the stanza, a new race we have never even been told about. I'm really excited, so let's see how this develops. Then they get out of the tunnels because the robots have got to them. Why didn't they close that tiny door? I don't know that name. They couldn't have get them then. As easy as that. But no, because this episode needs to move on. So they get out of the tunnels, they get to this field, and there are pieces of clothes trying to kill them. From the very beginning we get introduced to this kind of stripes of cloth. I don't know how to say it. And oh my god, they're alive! I'm so surprised. I'm not. But everything gets solved because they're in a gas thing, like there's gas that ignites really easily. So Espo pulls his second I'm just a plot device card, and he lets his cigar burn so they can kill them all and they can get out of there. Finally they get to the mountain. The tent, like the final point of the race is there, and they decide that both should be winners. They both get into the tent and obviously they both win. This was obvious to me since the second the race was presented, because there was no competition between Armstrong and Espo. And this would have been a very interesting episode if they had allowed them to compete. Hey, you can kill each other, hey, you can do whatever to each other. That will have been an interesting episode because that will have made Armstrong and Espo interesting characters. But no. I think the idea of this episode was great. It was not well executed. If you try to explain this to a normal person who hasn't watched this episode, they will think you're crazy. It's so convoluted of ideas that it doesn't make sense. The final goal never feels like a goal. I feel personally attacked with this episode. But we have to forgive it because the TARDIS scene was the best thing out of the season. It was plainly amazing. I was crying seeing it. I was so happy to see the Doctor with the TARDIS again. And I have no words to say how grateful I am for this scene. Yeah. It was beautiful, it was amazing, and I have no complaints. Wrong. I have complaints. Why was no one surprised that the TARDIS was bigger on the inside? Why no one said that the TARDIS was bigger on the inside? It's really starting to bug me now. I said it in the previous video that no one said Doctor Who. Now no one is saying, hey, the TARDIS is bigger on the inside. Yeah, they sort of mention it, but no one is really surprised about it. I don't know. I want to talk about Jazz. I still don't get Jazz at all. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm not getting Jazz as a character. Who is she? And I'm gonna say it again. Is it because of the actress playing it? Or is it because of the director? Or is it because how it's written? I don't know. But I don't understand what's going on with her character. And they're not giving her enough time on enough screen time for us to know who she is. So I'm getting very nervous. I'm just saying this, and I'm gonna say it many more times, I'm sure of it, but I'm already tired of the relationship between Graham and Ryan. This is gonna be how it's gonna be all season long. You can imagine how it's gonna end. I don't understand why they didn't have Grace instead of Graham. I'm gonna rate this episode with an 8. I know I said a lot of bad stuff, but I still really enjoyed this episode. Looking back, it doesn't make any sense. It's convoluted, it's out of focus. But while I was watching it, I had a lot of fun. And the next episode, I was really confused watching the trailer because you had Rosa that sort of set the tone in 1960s to 1980s, I guess. But then you have this guy that looks like from the 21st century, so obviously from the future, and he had a gun, and when he shot at something, that something literally disappeared. So my guess is that that gun makes things disappear, and he's a hitman hired to kill somebody in the past. Let's see what happens. I'm really hopeful for this episode because Jazz seems to have a really great part in this, and I really want to believe that Jazz is a great character. So let's see if they can prove this to me. And that's all. Thanks for watching, and I know this is coming too late, and I'll try to have episode 3 as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and bye!